Okay, so I just got back from seeing Super Troopers 2, and man, my screening was just jam-packed. And I have to admit, I'm kind of surprised by that. I mean, like I said, I love the original Super Troopers, but, that was more than 15 years ago. And, the original didn't do that well in the theaters. It did really well on DVD, but not in the theaters. And again, it was rated R. It was a hard R. And because of that, that does sort of limit the audience. But again, my theater was jam-packed. This was a stadium-style theater seating, and I actually had to sit like in the third row floor level seats because there was so many people. There were so many people there. There was just no other place to sit. And another like 20 people came in after me. I can understand that for like Avengers next week, but not Super Troopers 2. That does befuddle me. But as to the film itself, well, there's a lot of laughs in this. Obviously, if you know the plot, the idea is the Vermont Highway Patrol is reactivated because a portion of Canada is discovered to actually be in American territory because of the way the border markers were originally put down, and it's going to be transferred over to America, and the group is reassembled. Now, if you remember the end of the first movie, they were moved to basically being the local cops in their town that they were in, but it turns out they actually lost their position, and this is the exact details of this are revealed in a mid-roll scene, but they were giving a ride-along to Fred Savage, and Fred Savage took it upon himself to climb a tree to rescue a cat. He fell out of the tree, landed on his feet, but then got drilled by a fire truck that was coming by to rescue said cat. So, and that basically got them fired. As the film opens up, it turns out that they then started a band and won America's Got Talent. This is later revealed to be a dream. Coincidentally, they get pulled over by Damon Wayans Jr. and Sean William Scott in the dream. But they get, as this happens, Captain Argyle calls them and sets up a fishing trip, and this is where you get the whole Canadian setup, and them not being welcomed by either the Canadians or the Mounties in general. And this basically gets to... I hope you don't mind if I don't get too far into a lot of the gags in this, because then really I'm just summarizing everything in the movie. Because, yeah, the plot is basically Super Troopers 1, except now in Canada, because as they're starting out and going around, they discover, as they're posting up new speed limit signs, because they need to convert them from metric to standard, I guess. They have to convert back from metric, and they're trying to figure things out, because I think it's 83 kilometers, but it's like 49.7. It's like, I don't see anything with a decimal point on here. Just round it up to 50. Okay, and as this is happening, a car crashes, and it's a bunch of kids who are hopped up on some sort of amphetamines, and it leads them to contraband drugs that are being smuggled. And the idea is, as they're doing this, basically put them in Canada, because they can't be sold in the United States. Yeah, they're only available in Canada. You can't be sold in the United States. But when it gets transferred over to the United States, they can then sell them there illegally. They also find a weapons cache later in the movie. Like I said, that's pretty much the plot of the first one. In fact, they even acknowledge, like, yes, this is the second time this has happened to us. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of laughs, there's a lot of gags involved. At one point, each of them tries some of the various drugs they get. One of them tries a female Viagra, basically, called Flobascotia, and gets addicted to it. Another one gets hooked on steroids, another gets hooked on, Farva gets hooked on, like, I think it's horse tranquilizers. And that's kind of how that shakes down. The mayor of the town is Rob Lowe, and he's a former hockey player named Guy Lafront. And he is setting up the transfer, and it turns out too he is also owner of the local brothel, where you could get men and women. He also, they don't like, basically can't, doesn't like that they have to now water down their beer. They can't sell beer that has high alcohol content. They can't have legalized prostitution. They can't have legalized marijuana. And this is all now starting to rub them the wrong way. Basically, shenanigans ensue. Like I said, a prank war starts with the Mounties. And this winds up getting the troopers stripped of their rank again. And because the troopers at one point basically take the 3 Mounties the town has, make them wander through the wilderness naked while painted with the American flag. And at that point, that's where you see all the gags in the trailer that are them dressed as Mounties harassing local drivers. And because of that, they basically get in trouble for impersonating officers, and basically says, you're not going to keep your job. The idea is after the transfer, if they're good, after it transfers over, they might be allowed to stay and be the police force there and be reactivated onto the highway patrol. But like I said, it all falls apart. And they suspect that the Mounties are actually behind the weapons cache because that's the drug smuggling and everything, because they're getting transferred out, and there's no way they could they're getting transferred out. It's a revenge plot. But it turns out that the mayor, Guy Lafront, is actually behind everything. And the Mounties and the troopers have to work together. They sort of earn this respect. They eventually take down Lafront, and the next day, Linda Carter arrives again and basically says, well, I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is, yes, you've earned your right to stay here after the transfer, but the problem is we've decided we can't formally hand the transfer over until we've picked up all of the contraband, because it's just buried all over this area, and it could take a long time for it to happen. So, and then they start fighting again, and then the credits roll. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm trying to leave a lot of the gag stuff out because, one, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen most of the gags, and two, again, I know I get way too bullet point summary, bit by bit, and I'm trying to condense this down as much as I can. But there are a lot of good gags. There's still great banter between the Broken Lizard guys, so that all works fine. But the story itself is basically a retread of Super Troopers 1, which is probably have a lot of comedy sequels. They're basically the first movie done over again, and except this time now it's years later. Like I said, the gags are funny, but the plot is just, it doesn't really need to be there. It's just a way to set up more gag points. I'm going to give Super Troopers 2... I'm going to give it a C. The gags were funny. That was all fun. The audience had a great time, but this is not a drop everything and rush out to the theater and see it film. I'd say, wait till it's on streaming or Blu-ray or DVD or whatever you choose to view it at home. You don't need to go and see this right now. Okay.
They call me the Highlander.
They call me Renegade, plus a few other choice names.
I'm 400 years old.
Well, I've got 400 horsepower.
I dabble a little in swords.
Hey, your basic lead.
I could live forever.
I live for a six-pack and garlic pizza.
I collect fine art.
And the next time I see Art, I'm gonna kick his art collector, huh? Oops.
Highlander, Renegade, weekdays at 5, 4 Central.
Okay, trailer time. We have mostly new trailers again. We have Bad Samaritan. This is a film with an evil David Tennant in it. He plays basically this guy who has this car. He drops off the valet. It turns out that the valet is really like this low-level thief who Yeah, he's this career thief who basically steals and sells things at a higher price, a higher markup. The thief uses the car to get into the guy's house, and as he's wandering around, discovers a woman being held hostage, and this, I guess he frees her, I'm not entirely sure, but they go to the police, and basically David Tennant starts stalking this guy, and that's the plot of the movie. After that we have Tag, the comedy about the based on a true story about a 30-year-long game of tag in which Jeremy Renner is the only one to not be it. If you don't know anything else about this film, it's that Jeremy Renner, this is the film he actually broke his arm on, not Avengers. A lot of people thought he broke that on Avengers, but no, it was this. It actually did look pretty good. I don't know if I'll be able to see it, because I think something else is coming out that day. It's on June 15th. Of course, everything's getting shifted around now, so I don't know what's coming out when. After that, we had Upgrade, which is basically, what was the Bradley Cooper movie? Was it Limitless meets RoboCop meets Death Wish? Yeah, it looked completely forgettable. After that, we had Hereditary, a movie about a family that is haunted by the dead grandmother, who basically winds up possessing the youngest girl in there and is also killing everyone. It might be interesting, but again, I'm guessing that's probably going to get swept up in something else coming out that weekend. After that, we have Jackass Presents Action Point. This is very much like in the vein of Bad Grandpa, where it's just this kind of narrative story with the Jackass crew, and Johnny Knoxville plays a grandfather who relates a story about how he built this cool amusement park. He had to improve an amusement park because a rival amusement park was moving in, and shenanigans ensue. And rounding things off, we have Deadpool 2 again. So, yeah. Okay, so, again, hopefully I can get back to the Marvel Netflix catch-up at some point. Next movie review, obviously, is going to be Avengers Infinity War. And then I'm going to try to see if there's an early screening for Infinity War. That could be up Thursday night or Friday morning. And again, that's if there's an early screening. And then obviously we have the greatest Royal Rumble ever, which is also being held on Friday. That's Friday late morning into the afternoon, because again, this is in Saudi Arabia. And then we have the random trade review on Cravan, Mystery Man of the 20th Century. See you all next time. Hey guys, is there a movie you want me to tackle? If it's some stinker like Baywatch or the Emoji Movie or something else? Check out my Patreon at Sleepy Time for Cat Productions. See how you can make that happen.